So as a bicycle dealer, should you be looking at Sur-Ron Light Bees to repair or not? Let's go through and see what you think. The chain here is a motorcycle chain. However, when you buy them, you can buy them cut to length and the right dimensions, and if you've ever done a single speed link, that's exactly the same. And the same with changing sprockets. You've just got hex bolts securing them on, and you can change these sprockets as well. A common issue is the jack shaft bearings, which is the shaft that runs along the main pivot which transmits the power from the motor to the chain to drive the back wheel. What seems to happen is the power is driven from the far side, pushes against the bearing on this side slightly, and being a standard sealed bearing, they're not really designed for lateral loads. So this is a bit of a weak spot and is easy to change. But in terms of appearance and work, it's very similar to changing a bearing inside a hub. So you could probably equate it to a rear wheel hub in terms of a bit of dismantling and then getting to it to change it. What I would say is you make your life an awful lot easier if you just cut a bit of M10 stock to go through here to hold it in position when you're reinstalling it. In terms of anything that will trip you up, this bolt here, it is not a clutch tool. It is a specific Sur-Ron part to do that. However, you'll see a lot of people have changed this to a standard M10 nylock nut, and it seems to work absolutely fine, but it's not a factory fitted option, so that would have to be something you discuss with your customers. Tyres. They have an inner tube, and you just need tyre levers to remove and refit and change. Spokes. These are clearly obviously bigger than bicycle spokes, but again you just need a motorcycle spoke tool, and these things work in exactly the same way as bicycle spokes. As you can see, it has forks and shocks, and I'm just winding up and down here the fork. And if you do fork work, well, it's fundamentally the same. Motorcycle forks and bicycle forks, when you're looking at the more simpler end and you don't have to worry about gas recharges, are fundamentally the same. And if you're comfortable doing a standard fork repair, then you're comfortable doing a motorcycle fork. The brakes here are marked Sur-Ron. Clearly they do not make their own brakes. From my sort of visual inspection, they look awfully like the Tektro system, because you've got the bleed port here at the top of the system, which is a Tektro patent, and with the standard bleed port there you'd use on a bicycle. I'm not quite sure about the height, if you'd need some form of lifter to make it fit, because I haven't done this job yet, but it's pretty standard. And with the Tektro system, you're doing it with two syringes anyway. And as you can see, it's got a window here, which is more along the lines, because this is the type approved system that would go on to speed pedelec bikes. This particular bike doesn't seem to have the extra power cable in here that reads the cutoff, but one of the upgrades you can do on this bike is change it over to the Magura E45 system, which you've either got your own opinions on if you think Tektro or Magura are the better product. Here is the rear caliper that matches up with the front brake there, and you can see again it's marked Sur-Ron, but it's got a remarkable similarity to a Tektro one. And you can see inside there that the brake pads, well, they're going to be a Tektro pattern. Sintered is going to be the way to go on that, but clearly being a type approved bike, you might still want to fit OEM pads. Also, you'll notice here a standard 203mm rotor that's with 6 bolts. So again, identical to what you'd expect on a bicycle repair. If you've ever done a single speed, you'll be very familiar with this kind of adjustment for a rear wheel. Under here you'll see another one of the common failure points, which is the drive belt. From there around here on the motor. Now, this is on the opposite side of the jack shaft, which I showed earlier, and you'll find many informative videos online of how to change the drive belt. So if you've ever changed a Gates drive belt before, you'll be familiar with the process, and if you've got an account with someone who supplies Gates, then you can get the belts, but clearly you can also ask the customer to self-supply, or you can indeed find these belts online because they are pretty much a standard part out there. So what I would say is, if you were thinking about offering repairs on this type of bike, if you're a fully equipped bicycle workshop, well, I would say you probably need to spend in the order of £100 in terms of tools to make it much easier. I mean, you could, some of the jobs you could do without that, but it would make it immeasurably harder. I mean, things like getting the motocross bike stand, they're about £40–50 for one. For a manual one, makes the job phenomenally easier if you've got that, as opposed to trying to work on it on using cardboard boxes or milk crates or whatever else you see on the online. And you also have got to think you're working in a professional environment. But you'd probably need, in terms of that, the list of tools is the shaft bolt that I showed you earlier. That's a Sur-Ron only part. If you wanted to maintain its originality, you would need the spoke key specific to a motorbike. You would need the lift, and you would need access to a website that gives you motorcycle chains, if that's what you want. But there are ones out there that do both motorcycle tyres and bicycle tyres, so you could sign up legitimately for a bicycle account and get those chains as well from one particular UK wholesaler. Hence the reason why I say you probably only need about £100 of tools. Sorry. Oh yeah, the other tool I forgot, sorry, was the tyre levers, because they're a more robust kind of lever than you would use on a bicycle. So tyre levers, spoke key, lift are probably the main items that you would need to comfortably and easily work on this. And like I said, the Sur-Ron specific lock nut to take that other bit off the side if you wanted to keep it original, and none of those bits would be fabulously expensive to buy. So the question is, as a bicycle shop, can you do this? Yes. It's also listed as an E45 bike, so under type approval terms this is still type approved as a bicycle, even though it has no pedals. So you've got L6 and L7 categories. So this would be the equivalent of a moped in terms of its power output if you were to get the on-road version, which is equivalent to a speed pedelec. And speed pedelecs, as a motorcycle shop, you could obviously work on as well. But in a bicycle shop, the difference between speed pedelecs and a regular bicycle is, unless you've got the shop insurance, you cannot take it on the public highway to do a test ride. That's probably where you may consider you could come unstuck. So hopefully that's given you enough information to consider, and let me know in the comments if there's any other questions that you have. Thank you very much. Bye for now.